Thank you for tuning into my channel. My name is John, and this is John Aquarius Show. All right, so last night, March 4th of 2023, Chris Rock just dropped his live stand-up special on Netflix. It was good. It was great. I definitely did not watch all of it, but I did watch a good portion of his stand-up. I just didn't get to the earlier parts where there were other comedians talking and things of that nature. I kind of came in late. However, I did watch his special. Um, Again, it ended nicely, and I will get to that point later. Um, my only complaint is with a lot of older comedian stand-ups is a lot of times it does kind of sound like you're preaching, you know. But I digress. I'm not a comedian, so I'm not gonna really critique it like that. Sometimes, like even with Dave Chappelle, like sometimes it just sounds like you're almost giving like a TED talk, you know. But it's neither here or there. It's just one of the things I did catch on to. My other complaint was the overuse of the N word, but again, this is Chris Rock. Chris Rock earned that. He could say that he can get away with it. Reason why is because he's a seasoned veteran comedian. He came through the times. He didn't even, his claim to fame wasn't the overuse of the N word because I mean, with SNL, with his things of that nature, the movies that he made, you know, you know, I don't really complain too much about him using the N word. But I do feel like with a lot of young African American comedians or just many comedians, the overuse of the N word is like a cheap ploy to me. Is to get a cheap laugh from audience. I remember at one time Paul Mooney decided to stop using it. I don't know how well it went. But yeah, he did. He made a conscious effort to stop doing it. So one of my challenges to you, any of the young African American comedians, is to try to not use the N word and try to go around it. I think it also help try to build it's just a stand. It's a challenge to your creativity. Can you actually do a stand up without using it? But that's neither here or there. I mean, you can take it or leave it. Chris Rock is the goat, so Mr. Rock is no criticism on you. I will just one of the things I did want to highlight was how he ended it. Basically, the roasting of Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith. Again, I still have love for both Mr. Smith and Mr. Rock because, like many of us, we grew up with them. From all the stuff that they've done, we grew up with them. And I want to go back into liking Will Smith. I don't have a lot of hate. As a matter of fact, I understand the point where people were coming from, where they felt that him slapping Mr. Smith, slapping Mr. Rock was kind of justification because it felt like one of those old school westerns where, the person degrades your wife and whatever you're trying to win the dignity of your wife. So I get it. However, we are in the modern age, and had Mr. Rock retaliated in any kind of way, it would have been an ugly night. We saw two brothers on fighting on the Oscars, ugly scene. Um, and or if Mr. Rock would have just pressed charges, Mr. Smith would have been sitting in jail on the night that he was supposed to get his award. So I really feel like Mr. Smith should thank Mr. Rock for not pressing charges. I think that's one thing. I do really believe, and I said this in my other podcast, is that Mr. Rock wasn't saying anything directly towards Miss Smith. It was because Miss Smith looked beautiful that night. I didn't see any wrong. Yes, she had a shortcut, a very short cut, but she worked it really well. Matter of fact, I encourage a lot of African American women, if you can rock it, rock it. You know what I'm saying? But I think basically Mr. Rock was the living example of all the internet trolls that what Mr. Smith was getting during that altercation of his situation that was put on blast. And then on top of that, like Mr. Rock said, your wife interviewed you on national television or whatever, asking you how you felt about me sleeping with a minor. Which again, that was another situation that people need to understand is that you know Miss Smith, with all due respect, she did sleep with a with a minor, a friend of. You know what? I'm going to digress. I don't even know the exact age, but let's just put it this way: had Will Smith slept with someone the ages of whatever his daughter was, the age of his daughter, or whatever his son's age, Mr. Smith's career or would have been in jail, or would have been, his career would have been shot right then and there. But I digress because I also don't want to have hatred for Jada. I really don't know, you know. But so this just, just taking it back, his response is literally what I wanted to hear, is sh- doing, basically delivering that death, that blow back at Will Smith, allowing us to heal from what we seen that night. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it wouldn't look ugly if Chris Mick tried to like actually physically attack Mr. It wouldn't look good if Mr. Rock would have retaliated to Will Smith. Also, we as a black community, I think we should. I think I'm getting sick and tired of seeing, black people going on to public television fighting against each other. It just doesn't look good. Um, and also, one of the things I wanted to highlight, I wish I would have, um, done a little bit more research. On that night, the Oscar night, it was a specific company owned by a black organization or company that actually hosted the Oscars. So on that night, and this was the first night they actually hosted the Oscars. So that night did not look good on their, portfolio or resume or whatever. It really hurt them. So a lot of people were hurt. Black community, the world, businesses, Oscars. A lot of people were hurt during that day. So, and the fact that Mr. Rock did not physically attack Will Smith says a lot, and it helps a lot. It's one of the things that we need to see more of. He was a gentleman. He was a gentleman that night. So, Mr. Rock, I thank you. So, so yeah, so when so I just wanted to end it on that one. It's like, I just hope that Will Smith doesn't retaliate and have insulting remarks to say on Mr. Smith, Mr. Rock on this night, because I think the best thing for him to do right now is to just accept it. Just take it as is and move on. One of the things I wanted to end this podcast on was what did Chris Rock meant about not fighting in front of white people. I don't know if a lot of people how they felt about that, but one of the things that people forget is that Chris Rock's family comes from the old world. Not too old. It was probably the 70s, 60s, things of that time. But maybe it's different nowadays, where a lot of young African American entrepreneurs, many young African American professionals don't need to apply for a job through the white man. They don't need that kind of whatever. But back in the days, during the times that we grew up, Chris Rock grew up, his family literally depended on getting a job from the white man. So when people saw physical altercations right between two black people in public, it would be an easy excuse to point out that black people are barbarians, and that's what he meant about that, not fighting in front of white people, because automatically it is somehow that reverberation affects the black African American community, and it does affect their lives. I remember working many different jobs, and every time, whether if I'm hanging out with a foreigner or I'm working at a job, somebody would always see something that happens in public, between two black people, and they would think that that's how black people act normally. Whether if it's true or not, I think we as a black community need to stop trying to be so quick to attack each other. So I just wanted to say that. And again, I'm going to try to get back on my podcast. One of the reasons why I don't do it too much is because, just like my man Stevie Weeby, if I start listening to myself, I start critiquing my work too much, I end up not posting. And one of the things I'm trying to continue doing is to post a little bit better, a little bit more. So again, thank you for your time. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Hopefully, you'll hear from me again. Thank you. Have a good one.